The Jesus we see in many churches today, if not most, is very different from what he actually looked like.
Could everything we know about Jesus hide a shocking secret? There is an ancient letter, known as the Letter of Lentulus, kept hidden for centuries, claiming to reveal the real, untold truth about what Jesus looked like and the way he lived. His description doesn't match the usual images we see. Why don't more people know about this mysterious document? What could it contain? And why was it so carefully hidden from history? In today's episode, we will dive deep into this rare letter and uncover shocking details that could change our view of Jesus. Get ready, because what we are about to reveal will make you question everything. The Divine Mercy Image. In the 20th century, one of the earliest widely recognized depictions of Jesus was the Divine Mercy image. This image has been embraced by many Roman Catholics and Anglicans, becoming almost omnipresent in their worship. The story behind it begins with a vision experienced by Saint Faustina Kowalska in 1931 in Poland. According to Faustina's diary, Jesus appeared to her and requested that she find an artist to create a picture resembling the vision she had. Following his request, Faustina sought out an artist named Eugene Kazimierowski to paint the Divine Mercy image. In the image, Jesus is shown raising his right hand in blessing while his left hand touches his chest. Two large rays, one red and one white, radiate from near his heart. These rays symbolize God's grace and mercy bestowed upon the world, particularly through baptism and the Eucharist. The Divine Mercy image has grown into a beloved symbol of hope and forgiveness across the globe. It's been reproduced in many forms, including paintings, statues, stained glass, and prayer cards. This image has also inspired a multitude of prayers, hymns, and spiritual practices. Despite the widespread admiration for the Divine Mercy image, Jesus reportedly emphasized the importance of its spiritual meaning over its artistic appearance. Faustina was distressed when she saw the original painting, lamenting that it didn't capture Jesus' true beauty. In response, Jesus reassured her, saying, "It's not about how beautiful the colors or brushstrokes are. The power of this image lies in my grace." This profound message reminds us that the image's true significance lies in its spiritual meaning and the blessings it represents rather than in its outward appearance. Yet, this isn't the only significant image of Jesus that has gained prominence over the years. Others also have intriguing histories. The Head of Christ by Warner Salmon. Another iconic portrayal of Jesus is the Head of Christ by Warner Salmon. Known as the Salmon Head, this image became one of the most widely reproduced religious pictures of the 20th century. In the painting, Jesus is depicted from the chest up, gazing gently upward with a look of serenity and compassion. Salmon, both a commercial artist and a deeply religious man, claimed the inspiration for this image came to him in a vivid, almost supernatural vision one night. In January 1924, around 2 a.m., the image of Jesus suddenly appeared in his mind, as if placed there by divine intervention. Initially intended for his Christian audience, the Head of Christ quickly spread beyond its original scope. It became widely embraced by various Christian denominations and was even carried by soldiers during World War II as a comforting symbol of faith and hope in the midst of battle. This image became nearly synonymous with the portrayal of Jesus in homes, churches, and hospitals around the world. The Coptic Orthodox Church holds this image in special regard, particularly due to a miraculous event involving a 12-year-old boy named Isaac Yub. Diagnosed with a severe form of cancer, Isaac reportedly witnessed the eyes of Jesus in the Salmon painting shedding tears. Deeply moved by the vision, he believed he had experienced a divine moment. Amazingly, after this encounter, Isaac's health dramatically improved. Father Isaac Solomon of St. Mark's Coptic Church in Houston shared this story with his congregation, declaring that Isaac had been miraculously healed. The claim was later confirmed by Dr. A.T.F. Riscala, who examined the boy and found no traces of leukemia. This event gave the image a new meaning within the Coptic community, turning it into a symbol of healing and divine intervention. Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci. Salvator Mundi, painted by Leonardo da Vinci, is yet another profoundly significant image of Jesus with a captivating backstory. This Renaissance masterpiece features Jesus adorned in a flowing blue robe, embodying the rich fashion of the period, while he raises his right hand in a gesture of blessing. In his left hand, he holds a crystal orb, flawlessly clear, symbolizing his dominion over the world and the cosmos. This orb, crafted with remarkable precision, signifies not only Jesus' spiritual authority, but also the unity and perfection of the divine order. Through this visual metaphor, Da Vinci beautifully encapsulated the tension between the earthly and the divine, illustrating Jesus as the bridge connecting both realms. Salvator Mundi is deeply rooted in the spiritual and mystical traditions of its time, created not merely as an artistic accomplishment, but as a means for viewers to engage with Jesus on a profound spiritual level. The positioning of Jesus' hand and the orb is intentional. They are part of a larger theological dialogue that Renaissance thinkers engaged in, a meditation on Christ's dual nature as both human and divine. This painting embodies the concept that Jesus, as the Savior of the world, hence the title Salvator Mundi, holds the universe in his hand while simultaneously extending a gesture of peace and blessing to humanity. Interestingly, Salvator Mundi gained renewed attention in the 21st century after centuries of obscurity and restoration, when it was confirmed to be an original work by Leonardo da Vinci. In November 2017, the painting made headlines worldwide, fetching a staggering $450 million at auction, thus setting a record for the most expensive artwork ever sold. This monumental sale reignited debates surrounding the painting's provenance and Da Vinci's portrayal of Christ. Was it a historically accurate depiction or a more symbolic representation of divine authority? The painting's mysterious journey through history, its near-lost status, and its eventual re-emergence added layers of intrigue, making it one of the most enigmatic and debated images of Jesus ever created. While earlier representations of Jesus were often inspired by visions or revelations, as seen in the works of Solomon and Da Vinci, there are accounts of Jesus' physical appearance that claim to be based on first-hand experiences. One of the most fascinating and debated sources is the Letter of Lentulus to Caesar. According to historical tradition, Lentulus was a Roman official during Jesus' time, although his existence remains speculative. Unlike the visionary portrayals of artists like Salomon and Da Vinci, this letter describes Jesus based on everyday encounters. Lentulus, who was not one of Jesus' disciples but a contemporary Roman official, offers a physical description of Jesus that suggests he was a well-known figure of his era. His letter presents Jesus with an almost mundane familiarity, standing in stark contrast to the more divine or visionary depictions of the Savior. So, what kind of relationship did Lentulus have with Jesus? Let's delve deeper into Lentulus's account and address all these intriguing questions. The mysterious Letter of Lentulus. Lentulus served as the governor of Judea before Pontius Pilate, and is best known for a captivating letter that provides a detailed description of Jesus. This letter, known as the Letter of Lentulus, carries a mysterious history. It gained significant attention in the 15th century and played a crucial role in influencing how Jesus was depicted in art. According to Christopher Milas, an 18th century librarian from Jana, the letter was particularly special, noted for its golden letters written on red paper with ornate binding. Unfortunately, this beautifully crafted letter has been lost to time. In the 19th century, there were claims suggesting that the letter could be traced back to the era of Emperor Diocletian. However, most modern scholars do not widely accept this idea. Over the years, several versions of the letter have emerged. One notable reference came from Ludolf, who included it in his writings about the life of Christ. Another significant mention appears in the works of Saint Anselm, although he was not the original author. Historical records indicate that a scholar named Jacob Colonna discovered the letter in 1432 among ancient Roman documents sent from Constantinople to Rome. What makes this letter particularly intriguing is how its description of Jesus aligns with other early portrayals, such as those by St. John of Damascus. This connection has led some to speculate that the letter might hold genuine historical value. What does the letter actually say about Jesus? So, how did Lentulus describe Jesus in his letter? He paints a vivid picture of Jesus as a man of immense power and virtue. Some refer to him as the prophet of truth, while his disciples call him the Son of God. Lentulus describes Jesus as being of medium height, possessing a dignified presence. He compares Jesus' hair to the color of ripe hazelnuts. It is wavy and curly, cascading down to his shoulders and parted at the top in the Nazarene style. Lentulus portrays Jesus' face as perpetually cheerful, free of wrinkles or blemishes. His eyebrows are smooth, and he has a full beard. Jesus' eyes shine a bright blue-gray. Lentulus notes that Jesus had a straight posture and describes his arms and hands as beautiful. He indicates that Jesus was strict when correcting people, but gentle and kind when offering advice. While he was cheerful, he always maintained a serious demeanor. Interestingly, Lentulus mentions that Jesus never laughed, but was often seen in tears. He is described as the most beautiful among all people, embodying both his divine nature and his human qualities. A comparison with Scripture. To evaluate the authenticity of the Letter of Lentulus, it's essential to compare its descriptions with those found in Scripture. The letter portrays Jesus as having a venerable appearance, someone who can inspire both fear and love. This aligns with Proverbs 1:7, which states, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge." Jesus' disciples perceived him as a figure of profound love, coupled with a commitment to justice, closely adhering to his Father's will. The letter describes Jesus as having long hair, which has sparked some controversy. However, it's significant to note that Jesus was a Nazarene, and Nazarites were bound by a vow that included not cutting their hair. This detail is consistent with the traditions of the time and supports the description provided in the letter. Furthermore, Lentulus indicates that Jesus was stern in his reprimands, a notion echoed in Proverbs 3:12, "For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth." Another noteworthy observation from the letter is that Jesus was not known to laugh, but often to weep. This reflects Hebrews 4:15, which mentions that Jesus was touched with the feeling of our infirmities and faced temptations similar to ours. His life was marked by deep prayer and struggle, especially during his plea for the burden of death to be removed from him while remaining committed to his Father's will. A more contentious part of the letter is its claim that Jesus was the most beautiful among the children of men. This description seems to contrast with Isaiah 53 verse 2, which states, "He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him." Some scholars propose that this difference arises from varying interpretations of Jesus' spiritual significance, where beauty may refer more to his inner qualities than his physical appearance. The debate over authenticity. Examining the letter of Lentulus more closely raises further questions about its authenticity. Some scholars argue that the letter may not be a genuine historical document, but rather apocryphal, potentially written later and not during Jesus' time. The content of the letter bears similarities to other apocryphal texts, such as the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas, which also reference biblical figures and themes related to Jesus. Additionally, in the 15th century, many manuscripts did not mention Publius Lentulus as the governor of Judea. The absence of this detail suggests that the title might have been added later for authenticity. Scholars believe that Publius Lentulus could have been a Roman official who visited Jerusalem or Judea. but he wasn't necessarily the governor, indicating a variation in historical documentation. This inconsistency hints that different versions or additions to the letter may have been made over time, leading to the debates we see today regarding its authenticity. Historical context of Roman officials and Jesus. The history of Rome introduces us to various figures who were prominent during the time of Jesus' ministry. Many of these individuals held the position of consul, a role that often involved writing letters to the Senate. This backdrop invites us to examine the authorship and authenticity of the Lentulus letter more critically. While the letter claims to provide a detailed portrayal of Jesus based on biblical accounts, we should also consider what other historical records might reveal beyond the Bible. Several letters about Jesus offer insights into his character. One notable letter comes from Abgar of Edessa, recognized as one of the early Christian kings. Abgar, who was among the 70 disciples, refers to Jesus as the good physician in his correspondence and requests healing for his illness. Many believe that Jesus did visit Abgar and performed a healing miracle. However, Jesus' response suggests otherwise. He clearly states that he would send one of his disciples to assist Abgar instead of coming himself. The description of Jesus' healing powers in Abgar's letter parallels that found in Lentulus's account. This comparison lends some degree of authenticity to the Lentulus letter, grounded in biblical texts, but to firmly establish its validity, we require more substantial evidence. Linking other historical records and letters enriches our understanding of the Lentulus letter and situates it within a broader historical and religious framework. In a letter from Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar, Jesus is characterized as strict, devout, and a staunch proponent of truth. This portrayal aligns with Lentulus's description, which also refers to Jesus as the prophet of truth and mentions his sternness in delivering reprimands. The consistency of these depictions across different letters suggests that Lentulus may have had a close encounter with Jesus. Early Christian art and the depiction of Jesus. So, how do these descriptions align with the early artistic representations of Jesus? It's fascinating to observe that, despite restrictions at the time, art began to play a significant role in the church. Let's delve into how early Christian art depicted Jesus and how these representations correlate with Lentulus's description. Following the deaths of the original apostles, the early Christian church underwent significant transformations. A small group of devoted followers worked to preserve the faith. But over time, Christianity began to morph into something that differed greatly from what is detailed in the New Testament. This evolution unfolded gradually as new practices and beliefs were adopted. The earliest known images believed to represent Jesus date from around AD 24 to 256, created by artists who lived approximately 200 years after Jesus' ascension. Consequently, these artists neither saw Jesus nor met anyone who had. Rather than attempting to produce a realistic portrait, these early artists employed symbolic imagery. One of the most prevalent symbols was Christ depicted as the Good Shepherd, cradling a lamb. In these artworks, Jesus is often portrayed as youthful, robust, and beardless. Most of these early images were unearthed in the catacombs of Rome, which served as underground burial sites. This contrasts with Judea or Asia Minor, where early Christians resided. Art and syncretism in early Christianity. Historians face a challenging task in determining whether these early images genuinely depict Jesus. One significant issue is that many of these representations resemble pagan art, which similarly employed the shepherd motif to symbolize compassion and care. Early Christian artists frequently drew inspiration from pagan art forms. It wasn't until Emperor Constantine became involved with Christianity that more detailed artistic portrayals of Jesus began to emerge in churches. Prior to Constantine's reign, there was considerable resistance to creating images of Jesus, as many people believed it was inappropriate to depict him in art. However, once Constantine embraced Christianity and sought to adapt it to align with Roman customs, such as incorporating statues and images into worship, this perspective shifted. By the end of the 4th century, images of Jesus had become commonplace in churches, and people started to show significant reverence for these artworks. Some even began to worship them, arguing that they were honoring symbols of their absent Lord and his saints. Despite ongoing opposition, the use of icons and images became deeply ingrained in Christianity, particularly in Rome and Byzantium. Although debates persisted regarding this practice, art has played a crucial role in helping us visualize what Jesus might have looked like. The biblical descriptions provide some hints, but these early artworks offer a more tangible way to imagine Jesus' physical appearance. They complement the descriptions found in letters like Lentulus's, enhancing our understanding of how early Christians may have envisioned Jesus. The Shroud of Turin and the image of Jesus. Now, let's shift our focus to the Shroud of Turin. The artwork that represented this evolving form of Christianity didn't emerge in isolation. One of the most fascinating pieces of evidence in this discussion is a cloth that some believe bears the actual image of Jesus. This linen cloth has intrigued both historians and scientists, prompting many to wonder if it might have a divine origin. Discovered in 1354, the Shroud of Turin, also known as the Veil of Veronica, is an ancient linen cloth that features a faint yet detailed image of a man whom many historians believe to be Jesus Christ. The shroud, often referred to as the Holy Shroud, is a length of linen with delicate impressions of the front and back of a man who appears to have been crucified. For centuries, it has been venerated by many, particularly within the Catholic Church, as the actual burial shroud that enveloped Jesus' body following his crucifixion. According to tradition, Jesus' bodily image was miraculously imprinted onto the shroud, adding to its significance and mystique. The Shroud of Turin, a modern icon. The Shroud of Turin, dating back to the 14th century, has emerged as a profound symbol within the Catholic faith. While some believe it to be the genuine burial cloth of Jesus Christ, others view it as a powerful representation of Christ's story, even if it isn't the original shroud. For over 600 years, the Shroud of Turin has retained its significance as a major symbol for Christians across the globe. What makes the shroud particularly fascinating is how the image was created. How could a perfect impression of a human body be transferred to a cloth without damaging the fabric? Scientists speculate that a force akin to a thermonuclear flash might be responsible. This process would be far more controlled than a nuclear explosion, leaving an image on the surface of the fibers without penetrating or harming the cloth itself. It's as if the image was imprinted with such accuracy that only the top layer of fibers was affected, capturing a detailed and clear outline of a human form. The exact mechanism behind the formation of the image remains shrouded in mystery, fueling ongoing debates and investigations. Some argue that this enigmatic imprint is evidence of a miraculous event, while others continue to study the shroud in an attempt to unravel how such an extraordinary image could have been produced. Regardless of its origins, the Shroud of Turin captivates the imagination and devotion of people around the world, establishing itself as one of the most enduring and enigmatic artifacts in religious history. The Transfiguration Theory and the Shroud. An intriguing theory surrounding the Shroud of Turin suggests that it may bear a miraculous image of Jesus, possibly linked to the divine power he displayed during his transfiguration. This theory posits that during this event, a burst of divine energy from Jesus caused his blood to evaporate instantaneously, leaving his image and body imprint on the cloth, a literal snapshot of his resurrection. The shroud reveals a faint image in a straw yellow hue on the top layer of the cloth fibers. This image depicts a man with a beard, mustache, and shoulder-length hair parted down the middle, aligning closely with the description found in Lentulus's letter. Measurements of the shroud indicate that the figure portrayed is between 1.70 to 1.88 meters tall, approximately 5 feet 7 inches. Additionally, reddish-brown stains are present on the cloth, mirroring the wounds described in the biblical accounts of Jesus' crucifixion. Over time, discussions about the shroud have calmed, and it is now venerated as the Holy Veil. Nevertheless, many people prefer to rely on biblical descriptions of Jesus rather than a piece of cloth. For them, the Bible remains the most trusted source for understanding who Jesus truly was. Biblical portrayals of Jesus. For centuries, particularly in Western cultures, the prevalent image of Jesus Christ has been that of a bearded, fair-skinned man with long, wavy, light brown or blonde hair and blue eyes. However, the Bible does not provide a physical description of Jesus, and historical evidence suggests that he likely looked quite different from these popular portrayals. The primary accounts of Jesus' life and ministry come from the first 4 books of the New Testament, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. According to these texts, Jesus was a Jewish man born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, a town in Galilee, during the 1st century. He began his public ministry around the age of 30, as noted in Luke 3:23. Despite this, the Gospels do not offer a detailed description of his appearance. They only indicate that he did not stand out in any extraordinary way. An interesting detail arises from the account of Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, Matthew 26:46-56. Judas Iscariot needed to identify Jesus to the soldiers, suggesting that Jesus looked similar to many of his disciples. This implies that Jesus and his followers had comparable physical appearances, challenging the notion of a distinct, easily recognizable figure. Some scholars point to Revelation 1:14-15 for clues about Jesus' physical characteristics. This passage describes Jesus' hair as white like wool and his eyes as like a flame of fire, while mentioning that his feet were like burnished bronze. These descriptions could imply that Jesus had darker skin and woolly hair, contrasting sharply with traditional Western depictions. In 2018, a significant discovery added to our understanding of Jesus' portrayal. An early portrait of Jesus was uncovered on the walls of a ruined church in southern Israel, dating back to the 6th century AD. This image is considered the earliest known representation of Christ found in Israel, depicting Jesus with shorter, curly hair, more reflective of the styles common in the Eastern Byzantine Empire, especially in regions like Egypt and Syria-Palestine. This earlier depiction contrasts sharply with the long-haired, bearded image that became prevalent later. By the 4th century, the portrayal of Jesus began to shift, heavily influenced by the representations of Greek and Roman gods, particularly Zeus, the powerful Greek deity. From this period onward, Jesus was often depicted with long hair, a beard, and adorned in a long robe, frequently seated on a throne. A notable example of this artistic evolution can be seen in a 5th century mosaic on the altar of the Santa Pudenziana Church in Rome, where Jesus is depicted with a halo, symbolizing his divine nature. As art and cultural influences evolved, so too did the way Jesus was depicted. The image of Jesus as a long-haired, bearded figure, influenced by classical traditions, gradually became the dominant representation in Western art, shaping the collective imagination of believers for generations. Cultural influences on Jesus' image. Not all representations of Jesus conform to the familiar Western portrayal. Across the globe, various cultures have depicted Jesus in ways that reflect their own ethnic and cultural identities. This phenomenon occurs because people often depict prominent religious figures in ways that resonate with their racial and cultural characteristics. In 2001, an intriguing project led by a team of Israeli and British forensic anthropologists, computer programmers, and a medical artist aimed to create a more historically accurate image of Jesus. They used an Israeli skull dating back to the 1st century AD as their foundation. By combining computer modeling with an understanding of how Jewish people looked during that era, they crafted an image of Jesus that, while not an exact likeness, is regarded by scholars as more accurate than many traditional artistic depictions. According to this research, Jesus likely had brown eyes, dark brown to black hair, and olive brown skin, traits common among individuals in Judea and Egypt during that period. Based on the average height of men at the time, Jesus may have stood about 5 feet 5 inches, 166 centimeters, which was typical for men of that era. Another scholar suggests that newer images of Jesus, often featuring darker, possibly curlier hair, darker skin, and dark eyes, may be more accurate representations. However, despite these advances in research and reconstruction, we may never know precisely what Jesus looked like. These descriptions can challenge prevailing notions about his true appearance and raise questions about the visions seen by artists throughout history. Ultimately, any painting or image attempting to capture Jesus' divine glory will inevitably fall short compared to what will be revealed on the day of his return. Many people eagerly anticipate that moment, looking forward to witnessing the true nature of Jesus in all his glory. What do you think? So, what are your thoughts? Was Jesus a white man or a black Nazarene? Share your perspective in the comments section. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more fascinating content like this. While you're still here, click the video on your screen to explore more interesting topics like this one.